Now let the beat ride.
All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 11 of Hi Chicago. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for your support. Appreciate you guys' feedback. Quick intro, I'm Sean. We got my boy Aaron. Aaron, you good, bro? How you feeling?
I'm all right, man. Dealing with a little bit of a cough right now. So I'm
Yeah,
make sure I
don't
don't
scare
cough
us.
on mic.
Please. So if you have Rona, oh my God, why did you just cough right now, bro? You're off the show. He's done. Mary Claire, how you feeling? You good?
I
Aaron,
feel
stop coughing, bro. Jesus.
fantastic. Oh my Lord. I feel fantastic. I'm about to leave town tomorrow, take a little vacation. I'm too ready.
Yeah, nothing's open, so it's a stupid idea, but
Whatever.
enjoy yourself.
It's better than going to work for a week, right?
These are facts.
I can do what I want when I want, so that sounds pretty great to me.
Just come back alive, to be honest with you. That's all I really care about.
It's true.
I don't care if you have a good time. I don't care if you have a bad time. Just come back alive, safe. And then breaking news, right? JV has finally fulfilled his lifelong dream of becoming a black woman.
No,
What's up, JV? How are you?
That was fantastic.
That was not
How
expecting.
you doing?
Oh, man. Oh,
I was
my
not
God.
expecting that.
Now we got our first ever guest on Hi Chicago. It's my older sister, Shayla. Shayla, what's good? How are you? Who are you?
Well,
Just say only.
like you said, I'm your big sister. The original Don Donna. My parents had to have me first to figure out if they wanted, another one. So that's who I am.
So tell us about yourself, man. What do you do? What are your passions?
So I am a writer / author. I released a book of poetry earlier this year titled Heartbreaking Healing, which you can find on Amazon. And that is my occupation right now. So that's what I do. I write books, I write poetry, short stories, all of that. So
Beautiful.
that's me.
That's what's up. Happy to have you. Just to clarify, Aaron, no, I didn't say only sister. I said older.
Oh, okay.
Oldest.
Enunciate.
But no, the issue is you have coronavirus, so you're about to lose your sense of hearing, about to lose your sense of taste. So that's on you. But let's dive into episode 11, right? So last week we spoke about Kanye West, right, and his crazy ass and how it came across as like a joke, humorous to us, but it took Kim posting a story on Instagram to have me think about it from a different perspective. So he does suffer from bipolar disorder. Okay, that's a fact. And what I want to discuss is mental health in general, right? Because I think we witnessed a manic episode from Kanye West during that entire campaign rally, right? He displayed signs such as rapid speech, racing thoughts. He had the grandiose delusion of becoming president and making the White House modeled after Wakanda, right? But as we laugh and we think he's crazy as hell, like it's a real issue that we don't talk about enough in society in general, right? It's taboo. There's a stigma behind talking about mental health. And part of Kim's statement was calling Kanye brilliant, calling him complicated, talking about the shit their family has to deal with, calling them powerless to get him the help that he actually needs. And she asked for compassion and empathy. So we're going to kind of tie this episode around that when it comes to mental health, right? So Aaron, I want to kick it off with you, bro. So I know that you lived with someone in the past that dealt with bipolar disorder, right?
Right.
So tell us about that experience with you personally. Like, how did that affect your everyday life or that person's everyday life? Miracle, you all right? You bumping into this shit. Okay, please. But Aaron, I want to hear real life experiences about mental health and what you dealt with.
And so I had a roommate when I went to college at NIU. He was diagnosed bipolar 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Because there's 4 different types of bipolar, from what I understand.
Where I believe the manic episodes aren't as high, but his depressive episodes were definitely very, very low. So there were times when I'd come back from like going to a party, and he had gone to a party, and he wouldn't take his meds. So I'd come in there and he's sobbing on the floor. When he's like talking to one of his friends, and his friend's trying to talk him down. He's experiencing thoughts of suicide. It was tough, honestly. Like, me and him didn't get along, but I never want to see somebody like going through that. So it was just something I had to deal with mostly, but I really felt for him when he had those depressive episodes.
Now, when you say you guys didn't get along, is it because of his disorder you guys didn't get along?
No. It was mostly because of his messiness, which I know sometimes can be a side effect of those depressive states, where essentially you get into like what is called, I believe, a depressive mess, where you just have a mess everywhere, and it's sort of how your thoughts are going on in your head, and your environment sort of mirrors that situation.
I'm proud to hear that you were actually educated about like his bipolar disorder, and you weren't just an asshole and you were like this crazy ass dude.
No.
Can't tell you how many people I went to college with that did stuff like that when they found out their roommate, was something or the other, and it's like, thank God there's people like you out there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So that's okay. So I guess my question then, Aaron, would be, how did that affect you and your everyday life?
Well, most of the time I wouldn't get to sleep because he'd stay up late into the night, and then he'd get up really early and just start playing, I believe it was World of Warcraft. It was early World of Warcraft stuff. And he'd be loud, like as if I wasn't there. Like, I'd be in my bed sleeping, and he'd just be loud cursing at the World of Warcraft. I don't even know how World of Warcraft is played, honestly. So I don't even know if you should be yelling at it, but he would.
It sounds like you should be. I don't know.
So Shayla, would you have handled it the same way that Aaron did and just been completely understanding as you get college? This is freshman year?
Yeah, freshman
year. So
you're
18, 19 at the time. Would you have handled it the same way?
That's tough because I was on the opposite end of that. I was on the roommates end when I was in college, so I don't know. And for me, I was in a depressive state, but that was brought on because I was taking, I had just started birth control, and no one had ever educated me that, the possible side effects could be depression. Lord. So I went from just totally normal like I was to like sleeping all day, not going to classes anymore, not getting out of bed until like 7 p.m., so those kinds of things. So I don't even know if I would have had the wherewithal to see that within somebody else, because I was dealing with it so hard within myself. I have no clue if I would have. And while I was in it, I didn't know that that's what I was experiencing. I didn't know until I stopped taking the pills. I removed myself from college that I was like, I went through a really, really bad depressive state for a while.
So you feel for his roommate because you were the roommate technically.
Right, correct.
Okay, that absolutely makes sense. Actually, I want to revisit that in a quick second. MC, would you have handled it the same way?
Probably. I tend to take things in a little bit more than I need to. I tend to be like a motherly type person, which I really need to stop trying to do, because I've realized now as an adult who experiences a lot of anxiety and depression that it affects me more than I think. But I tend to, like, if somebody tells me something's wrong, like, I'm open ears, and then I try to problem solve with them, for them, whatever they need. So I tend to be a little overbearing. So that probably would have been me. I probably would have been like, oh my God, do you need anything? Can I help you? Tell me what you want me to do when things happen. Like, I'm just really oversensitive when it comes to that stuff, because I never want people to feel put in awkward positions. That's kind of how I am. Like, I know if I'm dealing with something, I prefer not to tell anyone what's going on. I'd rather deal with it myself. So I always just try to remember, like, okay, if I did want somebody to help, what would I say?
But that's fair. But for me, 18-year-old me, I was an asshole. And if I'm being completely honest, right, I probably would have handled it the opposite.
Probably would have been that kid in college that was like, don't talk to his crazy ass, or just leave him in the corner. I knew so many people like that. Literally, Sean, I know you. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
That would have been Sean. Oh, and just to be
transparent. Go ahead, Aaron. You're good.
Just to be clear, it wasn't always sunshine and roses, right? There were times when I'd just be mad as shit and I wouldn't sleep in the same room. I'd like go somewhere else to someone else's dorm. Right?
None of this ever sounded like it was sunshine and roses.
Oh, no,
Nothing
no.
you described
Yeah,
yet.
And this is the same roommate from, I believe, episode 3 was when we told our worst pre-quarantine stories or something like that.
Oh, you
Lord.
bit his calf?
Yes, this is the same roommate.
You bit the calf of a
I
man?
hope he's
What the
watching,
hell?
and I hope he leaves some messages for us so we can be like, I am so sorry you had to live with Aaron.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know,
Holy shit.
there were bad moments too, for sure.
Yeah, on your end, you drunk fuck. But like I was saying, I would have had no sympathy. I would have not cared. I would have not cared to follow up, check on the mental well-being of my roommate. I was just a real dickhead, right? But then there's a lot of people like me who would have treated this person the same, and who knows what kind of side effects that could have had in how I treated this person, right? But at 18, 19, speaking of Aaron's college years, right, you're not thinking about it that way. At least some of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
So something that's also very common in the mental health issue world is depression. Right, and Shayla, you kind of spoke on being depressed from the birth control pills. Right. When did you realize that depression is what you were feeling, and how long did those periods last?
It was some years later that I realized that was depression. I didn't, like I said, at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to hang out with my friends like I was anymore. I didn't want to do anything. And again, it was 7 p.m. when I would get out of bed, and 7 p.m. when I go back to bed. And that was my routine for a while.
Are you talking weeks, months?
Oh, that lasted for probably a couple of months until I left school. Because I was there for that semester. I left that next semester due to some circumstances that were beyond my control. But that actually ended up helping relieve that depression, like getting rid of the pills altogether, getting out of that environment helped relieve that. So yeah, and from there, I've battled depression on and off. So I went into college at about 19, I think I went. So on and off from there, I haven't had like frequent depressive episodes. You and I have talked most recently last year, you know, when I went through, I got injured from working, ended up getting carpal tunnel, and that spiraled into a very huge depressive state for me. Because for one thing, I work on computers all day. I was tech support. So, you know, I was answering phone calls on the computer about your tablets, your cell phones, any electronic devices that you had. And that's something that I love to do. I love working with tech. And one day I just got off work and I was hurt. And I had like a very swollen wrist. And, you know, a few days later I went to the urgent care and they're saying, hey, you know, you can't work for 2 weeks. Well, that 2 weeks turned into, you know, when I did my follow-up, 2 more weeks to we have to have you off of work and we don't know when you'll go back because your wrist is so badly damaged.
That is so stressful.
Yeah, so all of a sudden my paychecks have stopped coming in. What money I do have saved now is going towards all of my bills. And then it was just like for a month there was nothing. And so that really spiraled and picked things up. And then on top of that, all of a sudden, I'm not just dealing with my wrist pain. Now I can't walk. I can't sit. I can't stand because something's happened to my back. So you pile all of that together, you know, my wrist, my back. Right. I'm not getting paid. My bills are starting to pile up. That was just too much. And I like to think of myself as a very strong person mentally, but that was too much for me. And I couldn't. I just couldn't. It was hard to make it every single day. It was hard to get up out of bed. I couldn't feed myself. Using the bathroom by myself was a large task. And so, you know, my pride took a severe hit. I couldn't drive myself anywhere. So it was just like I had lost every single part of me. And it really took for me to know that my hand was going to get better. So that happened in January. I didn't have surgery until July. It took until July for me to start to feel better again, but I wasn't out of that
7 months
state. Yeah,
That's a long time.
yeah.
So
you know what's not fair though. Oh, sorry.
You're good. Go ahead.
Like everything that Shayla said, it's like such a snowball effect when things like that happen. It's like you have an injury because of the job you do, and then it just like trickles down from there. And it almost seems like when things like carpal tunnel, like with related jobs like that happen, it's almost like more stigma on you. But it makes no sense to me because I'm like, literally my job caused this problem and I'm getting no support, and I don't understand it because I have like bad arthritis. It runs in my family and I'm so young. I'm like, why do I have this part? I joke around. I'll be like, oh, my arthritis is hurting today, but it really do be hurting. Like when I get on the bar and I'm like doing stuff and my hands are really close, tight, like that shit hurts. Like I be dropping stuff. I'm like, dang, like this is what it feels like on that commercial when they're like, can you button your shirt? No, I cannot button my shirt. But it's like, it is so crazy to me because the reason why my hands are like this is because of the line of work I do. And when it comes down to it, you're like, yo, my doctor said it's not going to get better unless I give it 2 weeks off. And they're like, okay, that's great. Go have fun sitting there not making no money. It's like,
exactly.
It is like an ever revolving door of bullshit. It really is. Like there needs to be more support for that.
Yeah, you're right.
And having to deal with that shit for 7 months straight, I couldn't imagine, right? Needing that type of extra help to do menial things like going to the bathroom or to feed yourself or to drive somewhere every single day, right? So like mentally, like that takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
So I can see why you'd be in a depressive state because you don't feel like you.
That right? And I was angry. Yeah.
Because your job fucked you over.
No, it wasn't. I mean, my job had no way of knowing that my hand was going to, go out. I can't blame them for that. It just that's the risk that you run when you work with computers. Now, what I can say is they can definitely be more proactive to prevent things like that from happening, but they have to invest in and care about their employees in order to do things like that. I was angry because I felt isolated. There was no one who understood exactly what I was going through. And the only support that I truly had day in, day out was my mother and my boyfriend, but they couldn't stand in my shoes, and even that, like what you said, it was a pride thing for me. I needed help to use the bathroom. I needed help to feed myself, but I wouldn't allow anybody to do it because that was giving up too much power. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an independent woman who is used to doing everything for myself to now have to give up everything, that hurt me mentally. I was already physically just unable to really do much of anything. I did have to rely on everyone else physically to do everything. Mentally, my mother and my boyfriend were trying to hold me together and they couldn't. Like, damn. It's going to get better because for 7 months, that was just until I had surgery. I was in the doctor's office from January to December. Every single month, I'm getting shot with injections, put on new pills. I'm getting my arms rubbed up and down. And this is another thing. From January to December, I saw several doctors. There was no doctor in there that looked like me in that entire process. So it was also feeling foreign in the doctor's offices and knowing that there's a stigma of Black people, period, not being listened to when it comes to the level of pain and discomfort. Especially so I had to also be a huge advocate myself, even though I had a workers' compensation advocate there. She's there to make sure that, they're only paying the bills that they need to pay. So again, this is me being completely alone with nobody understanding what I'm going through. And even though everybody on the outside is trying to help me and trying to say, we're here for you, understand, if they're not going through it with you, it's impossible to understand.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So Aaron, let me ask you a question, bro. Think about it, right? She just said that she felt foreign, right? Because no one in the doc's office looked like her. And in my mind, I think there's a stigma in general going to a doctor or a therapist in the Black community specifically. Aaron, do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then why do you think that is?
So there's this thing that Black people are seen as stronger than the other races, truthfully, right? And that happens a lot with women. You'll see that a lot when women are pregnant. They won't get meds for a while, even though they're yelling that they're in pain. They'll just, because they don't have anybody who is of their same skin tone and have gone through those same issues, they won't listen to them until sometimes it's too late.
These are facts.
That has happened on multiple occasions. But I'm sorry, just wanted to branch off from there. Shayla, sorry you went through that. That is tough. That's rough. I could not imagine if I had to go through that, or my sister had to go through that, or my mom had to go through that. I'd be livid. I already don't like hospitals as it is, right? And then knowing that someone that is close to me, I care about, is not being listened to, as they know they're going through pain and all sorts of struggles. It would absolutely have me irate as shit.
Yeah.
And
you
I
can't
think
be
that,
irate either.
But the thing is, like, so for me, right? So moments like that is where I wish you and I had like a closer relationship, right? Because I didn't even know what you were going through until like damn near the end of it, right? Or how severe it got, right? So how shitty am I, or how shitty is our relationship to where like you feel like you can even come to me to talk about shit like that? You know what I'm saying? So
and it wasn't. You can't look at it like that, because for me it was. And it took a lot. When I say I was angry at everybody. If it wasn't my mother and it wasn't my boyfriend, I was pretty much angry at you because nobody came to visit, nobody called, nobody checked up on me. But I had to, after coming out of that, I had to realize that I didn't share with a lot of people what was going on with me. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as everybody knows that I'm in pain, but nobody's calling. Nobody's checking up on me. And for sure, the thing that pissed me off the most is I'm stuck at home and nobody's coming to visit. I mean, it makes you feel like no one cares. When in reality, I probably could have opened my mouth more and said, hey, guys, anybody and everybody come visit. Because once I verbalized that to you, Sean, did you not come and help set up my bed?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't that, you know, we just have a shitty relationship. I didn't communicate that I needed something from you. And you're not a mind reader to know that I needed something from you. And that's really what it was with everybody in our family and all of my friends. I needed something from everybody and I didn't communicate to them that that's what I needed. And it's hard when you're in something so deep. It's hard to say, I need help. I need you to stand here with me and for me because I can't stand for myself.
And Shayla, like I can tell too, like just you speaking, you sound like you're a very independent woman. Like you keep your most important things close to you and everything else. You're like, if it don't deal with me, it's not my business. And I kind of literally sitting here, I'm like relating so much to you right now because I live all the way in Houston. And it really does suck when shit happens over here because I'm like, I'm all by myself. And half the time I'm like, man, my family don't give a shit about me. Nobody cares. Nobody calls me to ask me like, how is your day going? What's got? But you know, it's like, it's a two-way road. Like sometimes I do blame myself. I'm like, well, I'm the one who moved all the way to Houston, or, you know, I don't tell people what's wrong with me. I don't like outwardly, you know, it's my pride. Like, I don't like telling people like, oh my God, I'm having the worst day possible. Like every once in a while I'll vent, but it's that part of independence.
It's not helping when you keep shit in. It's not helping. When
it's you keep not. But the problem is sometimes you're kind of taught that if you outwardly express it, people are going to judge the shit out of you. Like in college, when you're like, oh my God, I'm depressed as shit. And they're like, yo, why are you so fucking lazy? Get up.
Right.
And you're like, you don't understand what I'm going through. Like, this is not me being lazy. I like physically cannot get up.
That's it.
And when you start to express it, it's almost like you have to learn who to express it to, because if you express to the wrong people, it is literally a waste of your time and emotions because it just makes things worse. It does. Yeah. It really does.
So in my mind, we need to normalize as a society. We should normalize going to therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Aaron, are you an advocate of therapy?
Yeah, actually I grew up, I don't know how many of you guys actually know this. I got diagnosed ADHD when I was 6 years old. So therapy was like a bi-weekly occurrence for me. So I went through it all through until I was like 8 or 9. And that's when
you never told me that.
No, I didn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't think any of you guys actually know that.
Hey man, this is the basis
JB
of
would be the
show.
only one on here who actually knows that, truly.
Okay.
So it's not something I'm like constantly going around broadcasting.
It's not that you have to broadcast it, but why hold it in to like people you're close to?
So like Mary Claire said, you have that fear of judgment, even if it's someone who's really close to you. I still feel like a lot of things I do, you, Sean, specifically probably already noticed a lot of things I do where I'll just get into a mode where I'm just constantly talking. And sometimes it don't even be about shit, right? But
swear to God.
yeah. Right. Or I'll just be getting up, just walking around. Yeah. Just be walking around doing God knows what. And it's like, sit your ass down. I fear to tell you guys that, hey, look, I was diagnosed ADHD. I'm still probably dealing with a lot of the stuff that I dealt with when I was a child, but I still don't feel comfortable like letting that out.
But for me, bro, as someone who sees you like a brother, right? I would rather you tell me that so I cannot tell you to sit the fuck down, or I cannot look at you sideways because you're walking around punching the air and shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me though, right? I would love for people to communicate more about what's going on so people can understand better versus just assuming. Don't let me assume you're fucking weird. Nah, I got ADHD. Okay, no problem. Him doing this now makes sense.
Yeah, but there's not too many people that, I mean, of course there's some people out there who are huge advocates for standing up for, you know, mental stigma. Like that is so great. It is the best thing out there, but we don't have enough of it and they don't teach it at a young age. And that's the big mistake is why do we wait until we're adults to teach adults like it's actually okay to talk about this? Like, what the hell? Like, if you would have told a kid that, they probably would have spilled all their emotions on the table when they were 6 years old, and then they probably wouldn't have as many problems as they did by the time they're 25. I really do feel like that is a huge basis of a lot of these problems. It's like, we can't even teach kids how to understand stuff. So why are we trying to teach an adult who's like, well,
but Mary Claire, why do you think that is? Why is that in your opinion?
Because adults are too scared to talk about it, especially with little kids who are experiencing shit. It's so bad. It is so messed up. We are literally equipped with the information, the test results, the data, whatever you may have it. And yet we're like, wow, we could probably prevent so many things from happening to kids by the age of 12 if we just sit them down on the regular and talk to them. But do we do it? No, because then you're like, oh, that costs too much money. That's not. If you add up how much it costs a grown-ass adult to go to therapy, to get medication, get the medication adjusted, go to and from the doctor's appointments, and then not go to work because of that, you'd be saving them so much time and money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is
it's literally a business.
Yeah, I believe that therapy needs to be, if not free, affordable. Because that is one of the reasons why people can't access it is because therapy is expensive. And I'll give you an example.
Before you say that though, right? Because the Black community though, tell me if I'm wrong, a part of the reason we don't go to therapy also is because we'll label what's going on with us as we're stressed or we're tired and we just keep it in that blanket.
Exactly. And stressed and tired could be a symptom of something that you probably should be in therapy for. It could be your anxiety. It could be depression. It could be a multitude of things. But if you just simplifize it, or put it down to just stress and tired, you'll never get to you could be stressed and tired every day. You'll never get to the root of what's causing that. So for me, I'm a huge advocate of therapy. This is now my second time going into therapy. My very first time that I went was the year that my father passed. My father had died, my aunt died, and my grandfather died within months of each other in 2011. Wow. And I was just very numb. I wasn't crying, I wasn't sad, I wasn't anything. And I knew that something was wrong. So I then went to therapy to kind of unlock what was locked in me. And that was okay for a little while. I liked the therapist. She was okay. But more recently, when I started going to therapy, this new therapist that I have, I adore her. She is amazing. And I went into therapy again this time to deal with anger issues. And I ended up just working through so many more things. I mean, like commitment issues that I didn't know I had that I had anger issues, things that I was sad about. Her and I really worked through those things. And I think that one stigma about therapy is, especially for Black people, you're going and you're telling someone your business. And it's got to be looked at as something different than that. It's got to be looked at as a resource and a tool to help you. Because if you just keep silent, if you hold that in, it's going to come up and out in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It'll find its way. Exactly. It will find its way.
It's festering. So that blow up where, you know, your kid made a mess in the kitchen after they made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and what would to a normal person not be a big deal, but to you, you know, you've exploded. That might be something inside that needs to be worked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's got to be, if you're having these instances where you're having a big reaction to small things, and that's what put me in therapy in the first place. It's time to address something. You've got something going on the inside of you that's been unaddressed for too long. And also a lot of times our parents fuck us up. I mean, if I could just be honest,
that's right.
Our parents don't know what they're doing.
Mom, if you're watching this, just don't call me for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
She's definitely gonna watch this.
Our parents didn't get an instruction manual when we came.
No.
And so, yes, a lot of times they did the best that they could, but a lot of times their best wasn't what we needed. Right. And so, you know what I'm saying? And that's okay. They are humans too, and they have parents that fuck them up too. So at the end of the day, even if you're not depressed, even if you feel like you're not angry, if you just look back on your childhood and you say, XYZ was not normal. You know, these things were not normal, or these things made me feel weird. Just talk to someone who's going to be unbiased, who's not picking a side, who's not going to interject with their thoughts and opinions, who's not going to say, oh, you have this story, well, I have this story. No, they're strictly there to listen to you. Right. And to help you and guide you to a solution to your problem. That's it.
And you know what, Shayla? Just for people listening to this too, I don't want anyone to ever feel like, you know, these things cannot be solved if you don't go to a therapist.
Right.
Sometimes you just need a good person in your life to be ears for you. I'm not talking about that person that solves all your problems. It doesn't necessarily even have to be your significant other, your husband or your wife. Sometimes it can't be that person.
Right.
Sometimes you just need a friend who can literally listen to you and sit there and say, okay, like let's legit break this down and talk about it, because it's important. Like, people think like, oh, I don't need to talk about it to get over it. Yeah, you do. It's one of those things where until you physically do it, especially on something that's so hard for you to talk about, it's never going to happen. Literally, some of these episodes we talk about stuff I've never talked about with anybody, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having anxiety. But then, like, literally 24 hours later, I'm like, wow, like, I feel like the world understands me a little bit better, and I've got this huge thing off my chest, you know? And even sitting here talking about depression, like, a lot of people always see me as like this happy-go-lucky person, but I'm like, I've dealt with a lot of really bad depression stuff. Like, I've had my moments where I'm like, it's a really bad day. It's a really, really bad day, or even a bad week. But people don't understand that. They're just like, nah, she's always a happy person. Like, she's just faking it, or, you know.
And that's why they say check on your strong friends.
Right. They have it the literal worst. It's like, people will think you are A-okay, and you're like, I am so not okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this. So I kind of want to conclude this episode by saying a few things, right? Number one, Aaron, Shayla, MC, thank you guys for even opening up to what you guys have had to deal with personally, right? Because to me, that's the first step. You tell people what's going on, you talk about it, but you're not afraid to talk about it because you're not afraid of being judged, right? Kind of like what Aaron said earlier. For everybody, again, normalize talking to someone about what's going on. Someone unbiased, like Shayla said, right? That's very important, but get that shit out. Don't let that shit build up. Your mental health is just as important, if not more important, than your physical health.
Come on.
Right? So just have that mindset every single day, because that shit can build up and it can explode in the wrong ways. And I don't want anything negative to happen to anybody because of something that they let sit inside. Right? So I want to thank you guys all for that. So before we wrap the episode up completely, I want to get some final thoughts from you guys around either the topic or some unrelated. I used to call it rapid fire, but you guys don't know what the word rapid means.
Wow.
So we're just gonna call it right
people.
now. We're just gonna call it our final thoughts. So Aaron, I'm gonna start with you, big fella.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with the topic, so this is what I'm gonna go with.
It better not be naked men in the gym again.
No,
I was just about to say that.
No, it's different. So I went to Taco Bell. I know, trash food,
this
right?
is starting off bad.
Yeah. Went to Taco Bell like 3 days ago, right? I went through. I decided to pay in cash, so I had cash on me. It was like, I think $11.40 or something like that.
What the hell?
He coughing. That's what's happened.
Oh no.
No, we're good, Aaron. I hear you.
Okay, sorry. Shit was $11.40. $11.40. It was $11.40. I handed them $12. They gave me my change back, minus the 60 cents.
Wait, so what did they give you?
Nothing. Right? So I sat here. I got my food. I was like, okay, let me get my food. Okay. All right. She walked away and she walked back to. I'm like, hey, can I get my 60 cents though? And she said to me, dead serious, we don't have any change. I mean, and I was so confused. Like, wait a minute, hold on.
What do you mean?
There's a change shortage right now.
Change shortage.
Right. Okay. Tell me that.
So put a sign up somewhere.
Yeah, please tell me that when I get in there. That was the shit that pissed me off the most.
At my store, I give the courtesy of rounding up at least. I'll be like, you know what, you can keep $1.
Yes, it was pulling teeth to try to get them to do that. I was like, hey, so can I just get the $1? Or you know what, I got 30 cents right here. Give me $1. You take a 10-cent loss on this.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's fair.
So crazy.
But then this guy somehow magically found 60 cents somewhere in the fucking
his pockets.
I was so pissed.
So boycott Taco Bell and Joliet. All right.
Got it. Doing that anyway.
Right. Thank you, Shayla.
I'm still on the toilet right
now. Mary Claire, what you got for us?
I loved this topic. So much more could be said. I want to tell everyone there's so many resources out there. Don't be afraid to call things like suicide hotline and virtual therapists. Like, even if you're just curious, ask somebody. And if you're feeling uncomfortable about something that either happened in your life before or how you're feeling about something, just know that that's like a very good indicator that you should probably be talking to at least someone about it. Don't hold it in, like Sean said, because it'll eventually come out in ways that you'll probably regret, whether it may be addiction or an explosion from your emotions, whatever it may be. Trust me when I say it's more worth it if you take the chance and dive into trusting someone else. Because it can help with so many more things. So love yourself first, put your mental health just as important as your physical health. And that's all I gotta say.
Right.
Appreciate that, Mary Claire. JV, what you got for us?
I think you mean Wendy.
Oh, shit. Baby Linda. So Shayla, what you got?
Just really quickly, although this needs absolutely no promo, Black is King will be on Disney Plus July 31st. For those of you who do not know, that is Beyonce's visual album for the Lion King soundtrack. So please support Black is King. Amen.
Oh. Appreciate that. And I'll kind of conclude it by saying I'm gonna drop some links in the description for different people that you can talk to as far as your mental health goes, different phone numbers you can call to get the help that you may need or may not know you need, but they can kind of guide you in the right direction because, again, like, this shit is serious and it's just not talked about enough. And I think we need to do a better job as society with talking about what's going on with us, and then we need to do a better job of listening to others as well and checking in on others.
We could save the world one conversation at a time, y'all.
That's it, right? I appreciate you guys for listening to episode 11 of High Chicago. If you guys want to support us, please hit that subscribe button or share the podcast with your family, with your friends. We really appreciate the support, you guys. Thank you for your time. We will house you guys next week. Until next time, peace out.